Spoiler warning. The following discussion will contain spoilers. We recommend checking out the movie first, then coming back to hang with us. But if you don't care about that, glad to have you here. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin.
I'm John.
And we are your real movie guys. It's March, so that can only mean one thing. Real March Madness. It's a tale as old as time, Pixar versus Disney. In a brawl to end it all, we have selected 8 films from each studio. A total of 16 movies will battle head-to-head for superiority. On today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Disney's Aladdin. A kind-hearted street urchin and a power-hungry Grand Vizier vie for a magic lamp that has the power to make their deepest wishes come true. Now, John, I would say Aladdin might be one of my favorite Disney movies of all time.
And I would say I completely and utterly agree.
Nice. I like when we agree. I was getting a little scared there. I don't know. After our Forgetting Sarah Marshall review, if you haven't seen that, check it out. I get a little nervous when we get to things that we really like or don't like because oofa. I was really young when I saw Aladdin. I mean, we were born 88. So this came out in 92. Aladdin is Disney at its highest point as far as animation and character work. Overall, I would say 98% of this movie has not aged a day watching it today as I did from when it first came out.
And I think that the color choices in this movie really popped in ways that they did so well.
So we have the whole Agrabah desert setting, which in hindsight, it could be kind of plain, right? I mean, what is it? Just sand? But they kind of go beyond that, especially when they go to the night scenes, there's a lot of purples cast, a lot of mystery colors, a lot of blues thrown in there. And then the daylight scenes are bright and vibrant. The colors really shine. Something interesting that really popped out for me, which I never noticed before, is when they're in the palace and we see characters walking, they actually cast a reflection on the palace floor. That's pretty impressive for animation standards, because usually we think they'll just throw a shadow or do nothing at all in a lot of respects. No, they actually made it that gloss finish. They actually gave it that majestic finish to the floor. And there's details like that throughout the whole movie. The thing that really works for this film, like you said, I think the color is a major contribution to that. The genie is this bright, vibrant blue color, right? He just stands out like nobody's business. But at the same time, he fits perfectly in that world. He adds a magical feeling versus Jafar's red colors when we get to that later on in the movie when he starts using magic. They feel so different and stand out, but at the same time they really do fit into the movie. We have to acknowledge the characters are what make this movie. The story is interesting though too. I don't want to skate around that. I made a little bit of discussion when we talked about Snow White where I feel like they just adapted Snow White. They took the fairy tale Disney and were like, all right, this is the story we're telling. We're just going to straight up adapt it. That's what we're telling. You can argue there's maybe a little lack of imagination there. Not so much with the animation, but with the story they were adapting. I didn't feel like they did anything necessarily special to the story. Aladdin, on the other hand, while Aladdin's a very popular story, it's been told a million times, for God we know, they took it and they enhanced the story. They made it more interesting. And while maybe the changes aren't necessarily that significant to the story, the characters that were designed enhanced that story tenfold for me. Though it being, of course, the genie.
What would you wish of me?
Be ever impressive.
The one contained, but never duplicated. Genie of the lamp.
This movie, hands down, is the Robin Williams show. They literally took a man, a real-life animated man, and animated him in a movie. I think from what I remember, looking up when they talked about this movie for years, is that he was the only choice for the genie in this movie. When they were designing the genie, it was Robin Williams. His facial expressions, his mannerisms, everything he did is Robin Williams. It's crazy to see the two next to each other. They're so synonymous with one another.
When you look at some of the behind the scenes stuff, and you'll see Robin Williams in the booth. They'll put the genie on the picture screen next to him. You could just understand how he's so much into that character. He did that character so good. Nobody can do the genie ever again.
Well, it's funny you say that, because then we had the 2019 Aladdin, and it's not that that's bad necessarily. Will Smith did a good job as the genie. I think you can have a little bit of a discussion there with that. But Robin Williams made that character his own in such a way that anybody else doing it just doesn't feel right, because he is that character. Very seldomly do you find a role in a character, those two people, the actor and the character, combined so strongly that you can't separate the two. Like, without Robin Williams, there is no Genie. And you can tell, like, it's all Robin Williams comedy. Granted, it's the more toned down Robin Williams, not some of his raunchier stuff he was known earlier for.
Nice to be back, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, where are you from? What's your name?
Aladdin.
Aladdin. Hello, Aladdin. Nice to have you on the show. Can we call you Al, or maybe just Din? Or how about Laddie?
Nonetheless, amazing Robin Williams comedy. It's so strong in this movie. It's almost like, I would say it's overpowering. I don't know if you would agree with that. Like, when he takes into a scene, he almost takes over the whole show. It's like, all right, I'm here, I'm defending it. No matter what else is going on, if the genie's in a scene, that's who you're focused on. That's where the movie really wants to be with at times.
He was able to take over a room when he walked in, like, as the genie does when the genie's in the room. Like, nothing else, everything else seems minuscule to the genie because he's the great powerful.
All part and parcel the whole genie gig.
Phenomenal cosmic powers!
Right, and do you have like a classic genie scene? Is there one in particular? There's so many we could talk about, but is there one in particular that you really liked from the genie?
Oh, I love the whole opening scene, like the first time we get to see the genie when he starts doing the song.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end where they go, applause, and he's got the thing and nobody's clapping. He's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorites too is when he's describing like what you can and can't wish for. He's like, I can't make people fall in love. And he does like the whole like,
I can't bring people back from the dead. It's not a pretty picture. I don't like doing it.
he brings such a hype and excitement to everything he says, but at the same time, there's a kindness that comes out of the genie. There truly is like a love and compassion you sense from the character.
Don't you scare me like that. Genie, Thanks, Genie. Oh, Al. I'm getting kind of fond of you, kid. Not that I want to pick out curtains or anything.
Robin Williams can really like flip the switch on that, and it feels, maybe it doesn't feel natural because it feels so over the top, but you know it's natural because that's how Robin Williams is. He's able to really translate himself as a person into that character. I don't want this to be the Robin Williams show. I don't want this because that wouldn't be fair. There are other people in this movie that we need to talk about. Scott Weiner does the voice of Aladdin. I think he's great. I think he has like a very endearing voice acting quality to him.
I'll do it. I'll set you free.
Uh-huh, yeah, right.
No, really, I promise. After I make my first 2 wishes, I'll use my 3rd wish to set you free. Well, here's hoping. All right.
I really like his interactions with Jasmine, Linda Larkin, who does the voice of Princess Jasmine. The two characters really have great chemistry together. I really believe that.
It's a magic carpet.
It's lovely.
You don't want to go for a ride, do you? We could get out of the palace, see the world.
Is it safe?
Sure, do you trust me?
What?
Do you trust me?
Yes.
Not even that. It's nice to see they don't make Jasmine the complete princess who's the prize to be won. I like how they kind of try to circumvent that a little bit.
How dare you? All of you, standing around deciding my future? I am not a prize to be won.
Even though arguably towards the end she literally becomes the prize or damsel in distress at the end of the movie. Early on, they really try to bring about like a change with the princess character. Like she feels stronger, independent, has her own mind.
I mean, you don't seem to know how dangerous Agrabah can be.
I'm a fast learner.
Versus Aladdin just sees the world as it is, and he doesn't like where he's stuck, and he dreams of something more. That classic Disney character trope that I think a lot of people really do love and relate to is wanting something that's out of your grasp and doing whatever you can to achieve it.
Someday, Abu, things are gonna change. We'll be rich, live in a palace,
and never have any problems at all.
It really works in this movie overall. I really like that.
Jasmine is one of my favorite princesses all time. I just like her character, the way she acts. She's not one of those pushover princesses either. Just the way she talks and the way she acts. And then she's got this like pet tiger with her.
Oh, please, princess, give me a chance.
Just leave me alone.
Down.
She was your crush, wasn't she? She was a little John's crush there when he was a kid. His first crush was Princess Jasmine.
Very pretty girl.
Very pretty girl. It was his first crush. Little baby John watching the Aladdin.
I was like, I'll take her on a magic carpet ride.
Oh boy. The strongest Disney movies, strongest animated movies in that comparison, are as only strong as your villain. And wow, this movie does not disappoint with Jafar. Jafar and Iago, I actually give them the combination. The two of them together are two of my favorite antagonists in a movie. Jafar, voiced by Jonathan Freeman, and Iago, voiced by the grating, intolerable at times, Gilbert Gottfried.
Just forget it. Look at this. Look at this. I'm so ticked off that I'm molting.
I will say this is one of my dislikes for this. Not a dislike for a movie. It's kind of one of those like joking ha-has. You really didn't know Jafar was a villain the whole time? You look at that man and you tell me he's not a villain. And you couldn't tell me he was the villain by looking at that guy. They all need to get their eyes checked, seriously. But I digress. Jafar is witty. He's funny. Menacing. He encapsulates everything I like in a villain in this movie.
What are you doing? Giving you your reward.
Your eternal reward.
Well, one thing I will say about this movie too, and I don't know, Disney seems to do a very good job of this. They like to make very annoying bird characters. Iago is so annoying sometimes. There's times where I'm like, just leave. Like
he almost gets there, right? Like you're just about to break when he's on screen, hearing him squawk and do his thing, but it just reels back like just in time. I would argue, like it's almost there for me every time. But then it's like, okay, well, all right, they knew like enough was enough, right? They never go full. They never go full Iago. They go like 3/4 of the way Iago on you.
Like it makes me happy when he gets crackers shoved in his mouth.
I can't take it anymore. If I gotta choke down on one more of those moldy, disgusting crackers, bam! What?
Jafar is like that too throughout this whole movie. The comedy going back into it, like we praised it being the Robin Williams show. I think there's a strong feeling here that this is the Jafar show a lot of the times, especially when he's insulting people.
Afraid, Prince Abubu.
Ababwa.
Whatever. Where did you say you were from?
Oh, much farther than you've traveled, I'm sure.
Try me. I think it's time to say goodbye to Prince Abubu.
He has these lines that just come out of him, or is like little quips, like
a snake hammer. Perhaps you'd like to see how snake-like I can be.
And he turns into a giant snake. He really has a lot of comedy behind him, more than you would think. And even some of his little interactions with the Sultan, who's this stupid, bumbling fool, which I like that character too. He's not really super standout anyway. I think he's actually enhanced by his interactions with Jafar. Like Jafar's like reading the law, like if the princess doesn't get married, oh, she'll have to, what is this? She'll have to marry me. And then he takes the snake staff and he's like, the princess will marry me. And the Sultan goes back to him.
But you're so old.
It's like this face about, like again, like these characters are memorable just for how they are. Especially Jafar's song towards the end of the movie. He has like this all like little like happy song about him finally winning. Like that's a villain right there. Like he really encompasses what it means to be a villain. And even the climax of this movie, the final battle, is a different battle than you would think in a movie like this. Like you would expect some big fight scene between the main characters. And while it has some of that with the snake and Aladdin where they're kind of fighting each other a little bit, it really just ends on using your mind over muscle. Aladdin just uses his mind to trick Jafar into turning himself into a genie and saving the day.
The fact that like they tricked Jafar into becoming a genie was very like a smart way to do it.
I like that. I really like that. And this genie scene is one of my favorites. Like seeing him turn into a genie, that's a really beautiful piece of animation right there. Just the way they build it up and you're like, oh my God, what have they done? Like you really feel that like pit in your stomach almost a little bit. And then you're like, oh, that's right. Remember when they were talking about the genie being shackled to the lamp? It plays back in your head that was the right choice.
You wanted to be a genie? You got it. And everything that goes with it.
No! I'm getting out of here!
Phenomenal cosmic powers.
Come on, you're the genie!
itty bitty living space.
And I think that really works for kids. It shows kids that they can use their mind as well. Like, you don't have to be the strongest to win a battle. Sometimes you just got to be the smartest. I really like that theming. And something you'll be interested to hear me finally say is the pacing actually works in this movie.
Oh,
Every movie we've been watching so far, I'm like, this is slow. There's dead spots. Never in Aladdin. I feel like Aladdin almost gets there at times where it's about to be a little bit slow, and then it flips a switch and it's like, all right, we got to go forward. So they put in a musical number, they put in a couple jokes, they keep it right? They keep it going.
Yeah.
They keep it going. And then we have to go into the music. This is my favorite music in a Disney movie. All the songs. And you can make the argument here that Robin Williams isn't really singing. He's kind of doing the talk singing. We've seen it utilized well nowadays too. Moana, I always think about too, where we have The Rock singing "You're Welcome." It's the same kind of thing. You don't have to be the greatest singer. You have to have the right tone, the right personality, the right lyrics, and you have yourself something special there. And all these songs to me are just memorable. I mean, Aladdin, the opening song, like, you get to learn so much about Aladdin in just the opening scene, about how clever he is, how fast, how witty, but he also has some heart to him. Like, you really learn a lot in these songs about these characters.
It's just one of those things that not only enhance the whole movie, but the songs alone you can listen to anytime. And that's what I think, like, a lot of good movies don't always have. The songs work good in the movies.
Right.
But outside of the movie, they're like nothing.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Genie song, which is phenomenal from head to toe. I mean, it's so catchy. It's beyond recognizable. I can show you the world, the magic carpet ride scene. That song is absolutely beautiful and really builds that relationship between these characters rather quickly, because the plot needs it. It doesn't want to spend all this time around just like, oh, will they, won't they kind of relationship. They're like, all right, we're going to give you this beautiful song that really encapsulates what these characters are looking for. This movie knows how to use its music and knows how to enhance the story it's telling. I feel like that's what music and animated films should be used for. Disney's truly the best at that when it comes to that. I found very other few studios, even honestly, if any I can think of right off the top of my head, that can do it like Disney can. As much as I love this movie, there's a couple just little, itty bitty little things I have to talk about when it comes to this movie. Some of the Genie cultural references do age this movie a little bit. They're not terrible. John's son, right? If he goes and watches this movie, is he going to get some of the jokes that are in here? Like, is he really going to get like a Jack Nicholson reference? Or is he going to get a Rodney Dangerfield reference?
Can't believe it. I'm losing to a rug.
He's not going to get that. Like, you know what I mean? That it dates the movie. And for what it's worth, I think, unfortunately, the Genie being as great as he is as a character started a weird shift we got to see in future animated movies where we had that cultural wall-breaking style and character start to kind of creep into the movies that came after this to less success. I don't think they were ever implemented as well as the Genie. One thing I could think of is, ironically, was, remember the movie Fern Gully, that animated film? Robin Williams is in that as Batty the Bat, and he's kind of like a pseudo Genie where he's like breaking the fourth wall, like with all these cultural jokes and stuff. Again, not nearly as effective, of course, as the Genie, but it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're just trying to capitalize on that. Or more famously, I think a lot of people remember is Shrek, with all its like cultural jokes thrown in there. And it's, oh, look how timely we are with all our references. They're taking that energy of the Genie and they're putting it into their movie to try and capitalize on that. It's a positive and negative for me. What came after that, again, as great as the Genie is, he kind of brought on a little bit of Hellspawn after him, but again, you can't deny how great the Genie is in this movie. I won't let the negative that came after that affect this film. Not at all.
Jafar, he's our man if he can't do it.
Great!
Last thing I'll say is there is some really ugly CGI in this movie. I guess Disney was really trying to explore the next step, which we got to Pixar. Hey, which they're versing. What a coincidence. Disney really kind of started to. They had some good CGI. Cave of Wonders is absolutely beautiful when that rises out of the ground and we have that whole scene. That looks really good, and they blended it very well. I think they found a smart blend of CG and hand-drawn animation that worked well together and complemented itself. Then you go later on, when Aladdin's trying to escape the Cave of Wonders, we have this weird like first-person perspective when he's on the magic carpet. Again, it's probably like not even a minute long. Under that, it has to be under a minute, where he's trying to escape, and you see like they have like this weird like almost Disney park ride that he's going on, and it's like, whoa, and you see like they have like all these CG elements in there. That's pretty ugly. That's pretty horrifying, to be honest, for me. Again, I think Disney was just testing the waters at that point, which we're going to see that later on. A happy medium for them, I think, always just was like blending the two together. If you blend CG with hand-drawn, I think that's the way to go. So I think we're at that point. We're going to give our final scores. I'm going to give Disney's Aladdin an A+.
He's got a sword! Hey, you idiots! We've all got swords!
Movie's legendary, in my opinion. This is, if not, one of the best Disney films ever made. I think the characters all work, the story's memorable, the animation is beyond top-notch, still holds up to today. This movie is a classic. I can't wait, to enjoy this with my kids, to share this movie over and over again. I always have a good time. It always finds a way to make me smile. It always finds a way to make me laugh. This movie really works for me on every level. John, where do you stand with this film?
This movie is easily an A+ for me.
You know, Al, I'm getting really... I don't think you're him.
Tonight, the part of Al will be played by a tall, dark, and sinister, ugly man.
Definitely top of the shelf movie. Great Disney movie. Amazing animated movie. Great songs, characters, the whole 9 yards. So an awesome movie.
It's going to be an interesting battle, I think, ahead, where Aladdin's going to have to go up against Monsters, Inc. The two movies do very different things, so it's going to be interesting to see how we wager what's better. Right, I can't wait to see how that discussion happens. So, guys, make sure you join us for that. That video should be dropping very soon after this one, probably within the next day or so. John, where can the people find us at home?
You can check all that out on YouTube at The Real Movie Guys on YouTube. You can find us there. You can like it, subscribe, let us know your opinion in the comments. Watch our other videos of Snow White we have had, and we also have had Toy Story. And you could also see our comparison of those two, too, coming up. It's going to be a very interesting March Madness we have for you. You can interact with us on Twitter also, and also on Instagram. You can also listen to this podcast on many podcasting platforms, such as...
Yes, for your listening pleasure, we are also available in podcast format. iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Overcast, Breaker, Radio Public, and Pocket Casts. Be sure to give us a listen at any of those fine places. If you already are right now, hey, greatly appreciate it. Just search out Real Movie Guys. We should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That guy over there, he's John. We are your Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. The battle rages on as Real March Madness Disney versus Pixar continues. We'll catch you next time.
See ya!
Made you look.